Hi, you guys. Welcome to another episode of the Living in Power vlog. I'm really excited. Today's topic is morbid overthinking. And while I feel like most of the population are overthinkers, morbid overthinking is a more specific type of overthinking. It's where you go down rabbit holes of worst case scenarios and you replay negative events from the past over and over again in your head, and you basically create this very destructive pattern of thinking for yourself, because when you engage in morbid overthinking, you're quite literally destroying any semblance of presence that you could have in that moment. So morbid overthinking, just to give you some background, I am a recovered morbid overthinker. I literally manifested a car accident from my own morbid overthinking. I tended to, and think about how you can relate to these stories. Maybe you don't have the exact type of morbid overthinking that I did, but in any case, if you tend to go down rabbit holes of negativity and think about worst case scenarios, and I'll give you a couple examples, but if you do that, you can probably bet that you are a morbid overthinker, that you have some tendency to morbidly overthink. But for me, that type of thinking came out in a couple of different ways. Number one was me thinking about actual death. And so I would obsess over car accidents, specifically in this period of my life. And it was like every time I saw a car accident, I internalized it and I thought about it. And I thought about if I was the driver, and then I would go deeper with it. What would my family do? How awful would it be if my mom got in a car accident, or my husband? What would I do without my sister? And I would literally just put myself in a state of misery by thinking about how awful that would be. And so what ended up happening is I saw a series of car accidents, and I still see car accidents, right? Like, they happen all the time here, especially. But in the last town that I lived in, I feel like they didn't happen as frequently in front of me. But it was interesting because I I actually saw a dump truck hit somebody in the morning. I witnessed some pretty serious car accidents. And again, I would obsess. And I would make it all about me. I would make it all about what it would be like if that happened in my life. And then one day I was pulling out of my neighborhood and I got rear-ended by somebody, and it hit me. Oh my God, I manifested that. It's like exactly what I was focused on for so long, and it happened. Now, another type of morbid overthinking is thinking about what happened in the past. And it could be as small and as insignificant as going to a party and maybe you say something offbeat, or maybe it wasn't offbeat, maybe it was just you just said something and maybe you didn't think about it too much in the moment, but then went home, and later you start, the mind starts going, their gears start turning, and you're like, how did that person take that? Oh crap, what if I just messed up? Maybe that was really offensive. Why would I say that? That was so dumb, and you start thinking about what other people were thinking about you, and you go down this rabbit hole of worst case scenario. Now everyone's talking about you. Now everyone's mad at you. You have a mess to clean up. You can never show your face again. I don't know. But you go down this rabbit hole of morbid overthinking, and you create this scenario that's not even real, or that you don't know for a fact is even how anybody else feels, but you have made this your reality. And so that's extremely destructive because, again, it stops you from being present in the moment. And with that lack of presence, you're incapable of connecting to your true self. And that connection is so vital to you experiencing life in its fullness and all of its, amazing possibilities, opportunities, and joy. And so I wanted to shoot this video to tell you how I completely overcame morbid overthinking. I will not engage in it. I do not do it anymore. And it was a process. It wasn't just one moment, like when I got hit by that guy that rear-ended me, that I said, oh, I'm just gonna stop. Like, that was not a good idea. No, I practiced that. I practiced that overthinking, and it took practice for me to counteract it. And so if you would like to counteract it, it's important to know what you're working with and why you do it in the first place and what you can do to fix it and truly fix it, like make it go away. Number one, it's recognizing why you do it, right? What is morbid overthinking? It's technically you being mindless. So what mindfulness is. You're practicing being aware of your thoughts, being in the present moment, and like I said, just being aware of your thoughts. Now, mindlessness is the practice of being completely unaware of your thoughts and allowing your mind to just go. And it's a practice, and it's a form of escapism. It's you running from yourself. So there's many other ways to practice mindlessness, and they come in the form of watching TV, playing video games, eating. You can do so many things, but most of the time they're mental activities. So watching the TV, playing video games, those types of activities where your mind is just going on its own and you are completely unaware of the presence within, right? That is a practice. So that is what morbid overthinking allows you to do, is to escape from your own truth, from who you are. It's you running from yourself. And ultimately, we do this because at the core, we have this innate sense that we're bad, or that we are not good enough, or we're uncomfortable with who we are, or we just have no idea who we are. And we tend to run from the experience of being with ourselves, because we're not comfortable with it, or we don't know what it is, and we don't know how to connect to it. So that's why I want to teach you how to overcome this morbid overthinking, so that you are able to connect with that true part of yourself. And I'm going to give you an idea of what that actually looks like. Okay, so now that you know what morbid overthinking is, why you do it, you're escaping from yourself, you're running from yourself, and it's a form of mindlessness. Now, the best way to counteract that is by using the practice of mindfulness, okay? And there's a very specific way to do this. And it's using mindfulness as a tool of spirituality, as a tool of getting in touch with your spiritual self. Your spiritual self is your true self. And your spiritual self is that part of you that you're running away from when you engage in morbid overthinking or any other practice of mindlessness. And so the way that you counteract that thought process, that destructive, diseased thought process of morbid overthinking, is by, first and foremost, allowing yourself to feel whatever feeling it is. If you're afraid, feel it. Where do you feel it in your body? Recognize that you're feeling something, and recognize that it's happening, and that it's okay, right? But then ask yourself, is this thought process, is this feeling benefiting me? Or is it kind of destructive? Is it going to be helpful in creating the person that I've always wanted to become? Or is it a destructive thought process? If you can define this as a destructive thought process, and you know that this feeling is not one that you really want, then move on to the next. And the next is to acknowledge the fact that you are truly more than your mind is telling you that you are. A lot of the escapism, a lot of the reason that you do this, that you engage in morbid overthinking, is because your ego is trying its hardest to be real and to use you as its mirror, as its vessel to be real. And it's not. Your ego is a part of your mind. Your mind is part of your body. It's a part of your brain. These are finite things that will die. Your ego does not want to die, but it will. And that's okay. It's a part of life. The only part of you that is real is that spiritual part of yourself, your soul. It is made of energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Therefore, it is infinite. So connecting to that place within that is your soul is the path to feeling completely whole and fully self-expressed and fully safe. And once you've connected to that part of yourself, there is no longer a reason to engage in these acts of mindlessness, like morbid overthinking. So acknowledge what you really are. Acknowledge that there is more going on than what your mind is telling you. Acknowledge that you are so much more than this thinking. You are a soul. You are spirit. You are connected to something bigger. You're inextricably tied to that bigger thing, whether you call it the universe, God, whatever, it doesn't matter. Acknowledge that and know it in your heart and believe that you're more than that. Next, you're gonna counteract the mindlessness with a few moments of mindfulness. So literally just sitting there quietly for just like 2 to 3 minutes. Practice this. You have been practicing overthinking, which is a practice of mindlessness. The only way to really counteract that is by doing the opposite, by practicing something in its place, something creative, something that is going to expand your experience of life as opposed to constrict it, right? You have this limited thought process when you're engaging in morbid overthinking. Now it's time to open yourself up to the experience of life by being mindful. And that means meditation. So just a couple of minutes every day could be the difference between you allowing yourself to go down those rabbit holes of destructive thinking and catching yourself in the moment and saying, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't have to, because what am I actually afraid of, right? If you're an infinite soul and you're more than your mind, what is the point in going down those rabbit holes of morbid overthinking, of being so afraid of dying, of being so afraid of what other people think about you? What is the point? If your finite mind is not going to be here forever, and that finite part of you, like your body, that's not going to be here forever, why is that reality so much more important to you than the infinite, the nature of who you are, which is, once you connect to it, will allow you to be fearless, right? Because once you know that you're infinite, you can't be destroyed, there's nothing to protect, then you don't need to go down those morbid overthinking. It won't even be fun anymore. It's not going to be a form of escapism for you, because there's nothing to escape from, number one. And number two, it doesn't feel as good anymore because it's not providing you with the same false sense of security anymore, because you don't need the false security, because you've got the real security. You know who you are and you know what you are, and that you're infinite and that you can't be destroyed. Therefore, there's nothing in this physical world that can actually harm you. Like, sure, yes, I know, like, our bodies die. I know things happen all the time, but the truth is that your soul remains. The essence of who you are remains. So what is there to actually fear? And so those morbid overthinking thought processes just aren't as fun anymore when you realize it's a bunch of bull, you know? Okay, and then the last thing that I like to do is to focus on helping somebody else. Listen, you don't even have to take action on this. Now, if you do, that will make this process that much more powerful, and that this counteraction is going to be so much more effective if you actually do go help somebody. But it's literally just a practice of you getting out of your own head. And that's the whole point, right? Because when you are going into overdrive and you're overthinking, you're just living in your head. It's about stopping that, getting out of yourself And when you help somebody else, and when you put yourself even just into the mindset of desiring to help somebody else, that is when you will find freedom from that self-centeredness, that delusion that your mind is reality, right? It will allow you to escape from your own head. And so all you have to do is think about helping somebody else. How could you help? But if you want to actually help somebody else, pick up the phone, call your grandmother, call your mother, call your sister, call anybody with the intention of listening and to just ask them how their day is going. And I mean, how many people are actually suffering right now? A lot, most, right? So chances are they are going through something, and maybe they will want to talk about it, maybe not. But your intention is literally just to call, to say hi, see how their day is going. And what's so crazy is a lot of times you'll find that you were just what somebody else needed. And you feel so elated after the phone call because you got outside of yourself. And that morbid overthinking, that escapism, it starts to dissipate. And as you practice this very easy system, it's like over time, you begin to recognize what you really are. And morbid overthinking is no longer fun. It's just not as great. And it doesn't give you it doesn't hold the same value that it once did, where at one time it may have allowed you to feel some sense of false security, but now you don't need that, right? Because you've gone through this process and you've done it enough times, you've practiced the mindfulness enough times to know that's not real security. And the only real security you need is the knowledge that you are something more than your mind, that you are an infinite soul and not just a finite body. So if this was helpful, please comment, subscribe, share this video. If you think you know somebody that does this morbid overthinking a lot, like help them out. Send this. If you think it could be helpful, send this to them. And if you're looking for help with getting on your own spiritual path, on beginning your own journey of connecting to who you really are, I have free consultations that you can set up. They're 20 minutes long, and I can help you create a path for yourself. I can give you the tools of spiritual action that will allow you to begin your own journey of opening, discovering, and genuinely connecting to who you are within. I hope this was helpful, and if it was, please let me know. All right, have a great day. Bye.